Hi there, it's Steph. Thanks for popping by. I hope you all had a nice holiday and festive celebrations. I've had quite a few presents because my birthday was just before Christmas, so I will have hopefully a few videos coming in the new year. But let's start with this one. I made it using a Stamping Bella stamp set, which is meant for Christmas, but obviously Christmas is behind, so I tried to pick a bit of a different color scheme. And I got some Prismacolor pencil as well, and I got a box of 72. And I think because I like having 3 or 4 different shades for the pencils. I think 4 different shades is actually better than 3. For Copics, I'll probably go with 3, but for the pencil, I think 4 is actually quite good. So if you were to buy some Prismacolor, I wouldn't recommend a box smaller than 72 if you want to do some shading. If you're not too bothered by shading, then go ahead get a smaller box. But for me, I don't think a smaller box would have been quite good for what I'm trying to learn really, or trying to do. So I stamped my image with my Fiskar stamping platform, and I used some Memento Tuxedo Black because that's what I use for everything, and it seems to work fine with these pencils. I mean, it gets covered and I'm gonna retrace the lines at the end anyway, so you know, it doesn't worry me at all. I forgot to say that video is quite long. I tried to speed it up as much as possible, but I could have speed it up more than that, otherwise you wouldn't see anything and it's a bit pointless. But I mean, if you don't want to watch the whole video, you could jump forward, you know, to the end or the middle, and I'm sure you still get you know, hopefully something helpful out of that video. So for the coloring, so as I said, I use 4 different colors, and I also got for Christmas some colorless blenders, so a bit like Copic. There are some colorless blenders for these crayons, and they kind of help to mix the color. I mean, it's what the name is, really, a colorless blender, but it lightens the color. So for example, if you want to do a gray around your image to add a little bit of shade, it will help blend that with the cardstock color. But it doesn't really, sometimes it mixes it, but also I feel like it kind of just makes it a shade, it almost removes it in a way, it makes it a shade lighter. I'm not explaining that very well, but I still find it useful. I mean, it's not this, they're sold by 2, it's a present I received, but they're not particularly expensive. I think they were like £3 or something like that, and they will probably last quite a long time. So you know, it's still a good to have them, I think. I'm still in the early stages of using the Prismacolor, so I'm learning as I go, but I still found them quite helpful. What I found helpful is to when I go from one color, for example here I'm doing grays and white, before I go into the blue I would scribble with the pencil onto a piece of paper to remove the color from the pointy end. And sorry for my hair. I washed my hair the day I was shooting and I didn't realize I was that much onto the video. Sometimes I have to lean over my card to see what I'm doing, so you may see my hair at some point as well, so sorry about that. So to go back to the coloring, I'm still learning, you know, which colors are in the set, and for example here the colors I picked for the skills were not quite right, but I would say that Prismacolor is actually kind of forgiving. You can go back with a lighter color. I'm not saying if you go with a dark black you can lighten it, but if you go with something like, I used some sort of tan, a bit too dark tan color, and then I went over with a peach and I think it works actually okay. So, you know, slightly forgiving. So if you mess it up, there might be a way to fix it, basically. So then I did the hair, and this image is really pretty. I mean, I loved it. I saw the stamp, and you know, it's one of the stamp sets you look at and you think, oh, I need that, I'm gonna buy it. It was a crush, but I don't have a lot of stamp sets with these narrow spaces. So, you know, if you look at the arms, for example, if I was coloring with Copic, I would probably struggle quite a lot not to go over the line. And here with the crayons, I was trying to sharpen my crayon. As you can see, this one, the lid broke twice in a row, and if you look at the size of that pencil compared to all the others in the box, it's actually quite a bit smaller. So for the people who did tell me, you know, their lids are known to break and stuff like that, I did actually notice that, but not on all of them, only on specific colors. So I don't know if, for example, this light blue, is it made of something different than the dark blue? And I don't know. But on my pencil sharpener, I got 2 holes. I got a large hole and a tiny hole. and I noticed that the lid breaks more when I sharpen with a tiny hole than with a large hole. I don't know why, it's just something I've noticed, so you may want to try the other hole if you have to. In your pencil sharpener. And you may see from time to time me brushing with a paintbrush. I found that if I brush the excess of the crayon with my arm, I just splatter it against the paper. And if I use a little paintbrush, I'm actually lifting it and getting rid of it. That avoids that I do these marks and stuff around the card. So you may want to try that if you notice that you make a lot of, let's call them smudges really. So I've moved along with the coloring quite a lot, and I mean the coloring part is only on this card. It's only a stage, because then I will add all the dotting and stuff like that. So it's a technique I was originally inspired by a lady on Instagram called Stephanie, and then I think she's inspired by someone else who's called Max Steven, who does some really amazing coloring. They both do really great coloring, but I thought it was worth mentioning them because they inspired me to learn this technique. And you know, it's nice to learn something new. I've done Copic coloring for a few months now, and after a while I'm not saying it gets boring, but I like to try something different, and that is actually quite different, and I really like it. The cardstock I use is Strathmore grey toned grey, looking for it, toned grey, and it is a really nice cardstock. And I mean, with these crayons I've not actually even used them on white because I find the contrast so amazing. Again, the grey cardstock, and I'm so amazed by how well the pencils layer on the top of the cardstock so that you barely see the cardstock for the crayons anymore. And I mean, it looks good on video, but I can promise you it looks even better in real. And I put my cards down in the evening and I look back in the morning, I'm like, wow, that actually does look really nice. The only downside for me with that cardstock is that it's quite thin. It's quite thin, and you know, if you have a whole panel of toned grey, I think it looks a bit odd. So for this card, for example, I will add a panel of dark blue, but I'm kind of running out of cardstock, colored cardstock. And for another card, I was kind of like, what am I going to do with that? So it's, you know, touch and go. I need to kind of work out a way to use that cardstock, but to make a pretty card front, if that makes sense. I mean, it looks nice with stitch border as well, but you know, it's still something I still learn. Anyway, so here I go. I started the dotting, and I started with a dark blue. It's not actually dotting on that one. It's more like, I'm not even sure how to, almost like little waves, but vertical waves. And I started with a lightish blue, and then I go over with a darker blue. And again, I'm inspired by other people on Instagram and YouTube, so that's not my idea. I'm inspired by what they're doing. And then I go with the Sakura white gel pen, and I just follow the flow of the waves. I hope you know what I mean. And it kind of gives that texture to the dress. So it's not just a shading, it's about adding texture and something, you know, make it a bit more interesting to the eye, that when you see it you kind of think, oh, how did she do that? And I kind of like that. I'm intrigued when I look at people's cards or art and I think, oh, how did they do it? You know, where did it start and which process did it follow to do that thing? So anyway, I keep going with the dotting, and I start doing the dotting on the white. So remember, that's supposed to be a Christmas dress, so the fluffy bit at the bottom is kind of, it's pretty thick. I think it's supposed to represent the fern, you know, Santa's hat suit or the elves or something like that. But what's cool with these crayons, the Prismacolor, is that instead of going really strong on the coloring, you could actually do it really light and make it look as if it was that kind of veil, or in French we say tulle, I'm not quite sure in English, but you know, that see-through fabric that looks almost like a net, and you get it under the ballet dancer outfit, and there's a lot of layers, and it could kind of look like that. So it's all about how much you use your crayons and how strong and how deep you go with them. So I've talked quite a lot. I've moved on to the dotting with this Pica, and then again some white gel pen. I think my biggest problem with these crayons is not the lid breaking, it's retracing the edges. I was offered by my friend Elisa this multi-liners. They are not copying, and I'm looking for them, going around on my carousel. I can't find them. Right, here they go. And they are Sakura Micron, Pigment Micron. It's archival ink, and I thought it would work really well with that, and I was wrong. This pencil are kind of waxy, I suppose, and going over is with this Pigment Micron is an absolute nightmare. It seems to rub off on the tip of the pen. That's a micro pigment pen, so I thought it would work well, and it doesn't. And I've done a few cards with these crayons, and I think the best way is still to go to the gel pen. I don't know if there's another alternative out there, but the Sakura gel pen so far seems to work much better than the multi-liner. That's for me at least. I think it works fine on the edges, but as soon as you put it on the area where there's crayon, it just, I don't know, it seems to dry out the ink, and then you have to scribble forever to get the ink back. And they're brand new crayons, so I don't want to damage them. I would like to use them for a bit if possible. So that's a downside. But I mean, it's not really a downside, just use the right material, it probably is better. So anyway, I finished my card. I'm trimming my edges, and here's my blue cardstock. I thought it would go quite well with the dress. I put it on my card, and here I have a problem with my roller tape, but I can officially tell you I have now received my advanced tape glider, which you will see probably in the next video. And I thought something was missing on that card, so I decided to add a stitch line. It's a Paper Smoochie's border die. Look what I'm doing, seriously. Is that not terrible? So anyway, I'm almost done with that roller. And then I put my card on my card front, and here we go, it's all finished. So I've prepared that card, and it's going, oh, I did a bit of glitter as well, but you won't see on the video really. I've prepared that card to send to a crafty friend, so I hope you will like it. Thank you very much for watching. Don't hesitate to subscribe and head over to my blog for close-up photo. Thanks again, and have a great day. Bye.